Israel's strike in Qatar is condemned around the world. Benjamin Netanyahu says that it targeted leaders of Hamas. It also comes as he is expanding Israel's war on Gaza. So how will this strike affect the conflict and the talks to reach a peace deal? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Cyril Vanier. Criticism from world leaders after Israel bombs a target in Qatar. Fighter jets fired missiles into a residential compound in central Doha as leaders of Hamas were meeting to discuss an American proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza. The attack has widely been condemned as a violation of international law and Qatar's sovereignty. President Donald Trump says that he's not happy about the strike on a U.S. ally. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel acted alone. With Doha playing the role of mediator between Hamas and Israel, how can it now continue? How will this attack affect regional security? And where does this leave peace talks on Gaza? We'll put these questions to our guests. First, though, Imogen Kimber has this report.
Israeli missiles hit a residential area in Doha. Qatar called the attack a violation of its sovereignty and a show of disrespect to the entire region by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
The Israeli attack that took place today on Qatari soil can only be described as state terrorism. This is a clear message to the entire region. There is a rogue player in this region. Netanyahu himself declared he wants to reshape the Middle East. Is this his message that he intends to reshape the Gulf as well?
Israel targeted a meeting of leaders of the Islamic resistance movement Hamas as they were discussing a US proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza. Hamas says this confirms beyond a doubt that Netanyahu and his government do not want any agreement. Qatar has acted as a mediator in negotiations between Hamas and Israel, hosting both in Doha. The foreign minister says the process has been jeopardized.
Prime Minister Netanyahu sent a very clear message to any country that indulges in peace facilitation, in mediation, that helps countries like Israel and when hostages are taken, that mediators will be scapegoated, will not be safe, and there will be no respect.
He says the attack will not go unanswered. Israel took responsibility for the strikes almost immediately and said the United States was informed.
On this day, as in previous days, Israel acted wholly independently, and we take full responsibility for this action. And this action can open the door to an end of the war.
US President Donald Trump said he was not happy about the attack, but referenced Israeli hostages held in Gaza.
I'm not thrilled about the whole situation. It's not a good situation. But I will say this, we want the hostages back, but we are not thrilled about the way that went down today.
Elaborating on his Truth Social platform, he said Qatar was a close ally of the US, and he'd ensure such an attack wouldn't happen again, but added, eliminating Hamas is a worthy goal. The strike was condemned by leaders across the Middle East and in Europe, calling it a violation of international law.
I condemn the strikes.
But despite condemnation of Israel's war in Gaza, its assaults on Lebanon and strikes on Yemen and Iran, Israel continues to launch attacks.
This must stop.
The Israeli ambassador to the United States says, we may be subject to a little bit of criticism by world powers, but added, they'll get over it. Imogen Kimber, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
All right, let's bring in our guests from Doha. Ali Ghanem Al-Hajri, a political commentator, expert in public international law, also a former professor at Qatar University, as well as several other universities. In San Francisco, Stephen Zunes, professor of politics and director of Middle Eastern Studies at the University of San Francisco, an expert on the Middle East and the Israeli-Arab conflict. And from Cairo, H.A. Hellyer, senior associate fellow in defense and security studies at the Royal United Services Institute and senior fellow in geopolitics and security at the Center for American Progress. A warm welcome to all of you. Ali, you're in Doha, so let's start with you. Qatar has got some important decisions to make right now. Firstly, do you think that they can trust the U.S. president's assurance, promise, that there won't be another attack like we saw in Doha again?
I would like to thank you first to give me this chance. But I don't think so. This is things. Let's say the things practically, not theory. I think what we are facing now in Qatar, we have to be working hard to make this with the international council and to take it as, by international influence. Now, I don't think so. We are easy country to let this pass away. We will take a legal action, and we think there is so many, channels, international channels. We have to, head to it. When we head to that one, then we will know from where we could stand up. But I think now, my point of view, we don't want to, say now we will stand in this order. We have to now take, a legal action. Plus, I think this is the end for what Netanyahu doing in this region. He's doing so many bad things. He's imposed himself. He's killing the people, even for the American who they stand with. He didn't respect them. If we believe what they say to us, they don't know about what he's doing. Then how they support him? How they stand with him? How do they still be with him? They are working with Qatar, with the state of Qatar, the American politics, and they're taking so many of the prisoners, of the Israeli prisoners out of Hamas. More than 80%, Qatar take them out of it. This is where they should saying thanks to Qatar. We are very pleased about what Qatar doing. This is what Qatar should aim from them. Is this what they could give it to Qatar? But I think with Netanyahu, everything could be possible. We don't believe this guy anyway. He's a criminal. I don't want to say, bad words, because I respect this.
Well, we can stick to the law. He is wanted by the International Criminal Court for alleged war crimes and alleged crimes against humanity. Israel is also on trial for genocide, so those are things that are facts. H.A. Hellyer, Qatar has been a key mediator, as Ali was just pointing out, between Israel and Hamas, which means you have Israeli intelligence chiefs, past tense, Israeli intelligence chiefs flying into Doha. You had U.S. envoys and mediators flying into Doha. Of course, the Hamas delegation is in Doha, was in Doha. Who knows at this point? Can all this continue now?
Well, thank you for having me on the program. Always a pleasure to be on Inside Story. I don't think it can. I think that the significance of this strike is going to be felt for quite some time. I don't think it's just simply about the quote-unquote ceasefire negotiations, which already were in question multiple times over the past 18 months, because there have been numerous reports in the Israeli media that Netanyahu and his government were sabotaging those negotiations anyway. But given what we see right now, where one party to the negotiations is trying to assassinate the other party in the negotiations on the territory of the mediator country itself, with communication with another mediating party, i.e. the United States, I don't think that Doha is going to see going forward in the same way at all, to be not only against their national interest, but also will raise questions around the security guarantees that they thought that they had from the United States. I think that they will be wondering if those actually still hold. It won't be simply the Qataris that will be asking those questions, but others in the Gulf, among American allies, and wider in the region itself.
Stephen, as we speak, as we record this, the Emir of Qatar and the President of the United Arab Emirates have just met here in Doha, and they have, quote, stressed the importance of strengthening dialogue and diplomatic solutions. So while we don't know exactly what Qatar's posture will be, it does seem, based on this and the other statements from the Qatari officials, that the needle is, still pointing in the direction of, if not mediation, at least diplomacy in some fashion. But my question to you is, how do you do diplomacy when one of the sides that needs to be involved, which is Hamas, has just been attacked. I mean, would they ever come back to the negotiating table, whether a literal table or a metaphorical one?
It seems unlikely. It seems very difficult. I mean, even Hamas's harshest critics, and I'm certainly a harsh critic of Hamas, recognize that this was a civilian diplomatic delegation that was targeted. These were not people who were directly involved in terrorism or anything like that. This was clearly a gross violation of international law and trust that Qatar has played a mediating role, not just in recent months with Hamas and Israel, but for years. They have played a very important role of hosting and facilitating peace negotiations and other acts of diplomacy among any number of parties in the region. And to have that sanctuary attacked like this is a very dangerous precedent, and would make it very difficult, I think, for any party to be to trust that they can be if you're involved with Israel, that you'll be you won't be attacked in some way. They won't take advantage of your situation there, and of course it underscores the fact that Israel, I don't think, has really been interested in negotiating a settlement. I mean, we've seen time and time again that United States, Qatar, Egypt will come forward with a proposal. Hamas will accept it. Israel will demand new concessions. The United States will rewrite the proposal in Israel's favor. Hamas says, no, well, let's go back to the original proposal we accepted, and then the United States will blame Hamas. We have seen variations of this over and over and over again for the past 18 months. And so I think this really underscores that Israel's not interested in moving forward with negotiations, and unfortunately, they may indeed be ready to raise the entire Gaza Strip and expel the population, as they've been openly talking about.
Yeah, I want to look at this from Israel's point of view in just a second. But Ali, one more on Qatar for you. What do you think Qatar needs to do going forward? Because we've just explained, right, and it's not a surprise, that continuing the mediation as it had been happening previously is going to be very difficult, given Israel's attack on Doha. However, we know how central diplomacy is to Qatar's identity on the world stage. They pride themselves as being negotiators, diplomats, and mediators. So what does, in your view, does Qatar need to do going forward?
Okay, I think we will practically do one thing now. I think we will reach the International Council under the International Security Order. There is a convention, United Nations Convention, Charter number 2, Article 4, Charter number, 15, Article 15, Charter number 2, and Charter, We will actually, that's if you attacking a civil states, and there is no any, and if you enter, actually what they do, they attack civil places. And when you attack states, independent states with fully sovereignty, you don't have to, and there is no action. Even if we have the refugees, they are under United Nations Charter also. But there is refugees in everywhere, and there is a diplomatic international diplomatic. They call them Stani diplomatic protected. Yes, so you don't have to attack and wage an aggression under any justification, and you attack another states. It is what Netanyahu doing now in this country. I don't think he's believing in any responsibility. That's why we need to take these things now, even through our region. Then we will take it also to the international security. There is no justification. Now, I think this guy, he don't know politics. He don't respect the politics. He don't respect the diplomacy. We have to work with him, practically. We have to see who would support us. I think arms attack means arms attack. We have to face this guy through, the Arabic regimes, through our friends in the Western, through all the countries whom there are so civilized. Because what we are doing, what's happened to us, it is illegible, it is unacceptable, not only for us, for the people. What he's doing now, even he attacking Lebanon. Next day he attacking, if you see, Syria. Then third day, he killing all the people. He demolished all the houses of the Palestinians. I think this is unacceptable for us as a human being. We didn't see this since a while. What Netanyahu doing? I think he needs another language to be practical, not a diplomatic.
Well,
the diplomacy.
There's a show of diplomatic support for Qatar, for Doha, that's being organized across the region as we speak. The president of the United Arab Emirates is here. There's going to be a Jordanian delegation as we record this, and we're also expecting a Saudi delegation in Doha. H.A., I'm looking at the language coming out from top Israeli officials. They have no regret for this attack on Doha, even though, by the way, from a purely tactical standpoint, it appears to have failed because the senior Hamas leadership, as far as we know now, has not been killed. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, says, quote, "We take full responsibility for this action." The Israeli defense minister says Israel will act against its enemies anywhere. The Israeli ambassador to the United States says if we didn't get them this time, we'll get them next time. And Israel's ambassador to the United Nations says the strike on Doha was, quote, the right decision. Are they signaling, are they poised to do this again, whether in Qatar or another country?
So what we've seen progressively over the past 2 years is that the Israelis have pushed the envelope in a number of different theaters. And when they realize that there aren't going to be consequences for doing that, they've moved further in other arenas. So we saw what began in Gaza, which escalated and continued to increase in intensity and in violence to the point where you have this case at the International Court of Justice and arrest warrants at the International Criminal Court. But then you saw the Israelis then go further in terms of the arena itself, just geographically speaking, and target positions in Lebanon and then occupy positions in Lebanon. And then go further than that and invade, bomb, and occupy parts of Syria. And in all of these cases, we didn't see any stern response from the international community beyond words of condemnation. So from the point of view of Tel Aviv, they think that they're operating in an environment of impunity and that they have the capacity to go further, and they don't have a restraining voice in Washington, D.C., at least not one that's willing to actually put some muscle behind the condemnation whenever there was any words of not even condemnation, but of certain critique. So even over the past 24 hours, you've seen from the Trump administration, the president giving certain sentiments that make it clear that, you know, he's not, quote unquote, entirely happy about what's going on. But where the policy changes in this regard, there will be none. There isn't any threat on the provision of arms or political cover at the UN and so on. So from the Israeli perspective, as I said, there's this impunity imperative at work. I think you saw that when it comes to Iran. While the Americans were engaged in negotiations with the Iranians, the Israelis struck Tehran. You've seen that, of course, now with the striking of Doha. So I think that this isn't a surprise in that regard. It's one notch up, but it is the direct result of allowing the Israelis to continue along this line for the past 2 years and not face consequences for that. So we can expect more going forward. And I think it's incredibly destabilizing for any sense of a stable security architecture in the region.
So, Stephen, I think many of our viewers, seeing what happened yesterday, that another, red line was ignored, right? If you had told us 24, 48 hours ago that Israel would directly strike Doha, I think the vast majority of people said, no, that can't happen. That's not going to happen. Well, it did happen. So given that, as H.A. has said, these red lines are sort of burned through and Israel has had very little price to pay, where do you think this goes next?
It's hard to say. I mean, let's remember that Qatar was not the only country Israel bombed yesterday. And in addition to it's a terror war on the people of Gaza. They bombed Lebanon, they bombed Syria, they even bombed Tunisia with the humanitarian aid boat there. And just a few days before that, they bombed Yemen. Israel's clearly an international outlaw. What made the bombing in Doha more significant was that Qatar is considered an ally to the West, particularly the United States. They host this major air base. And the idea that they could, bomb a country that has close commercial and strategic ties with the United States and other Western nations is a notch up. It's in terms of the sheer brazenness of what Israel is willing to do, and it's also a challenge, to the West and to the United States in particular. I mean, we're certainly have shown we're willing to tolerate war crimes, genocide in Gaza, and aggression against other Arab countries. But again, this is the first time they have attacked a country which the United States sees as an ally, sees as one with which they hope to have good relations because of the importance of the strategic location and the air base and everything like that. And so the failure of the United States to come down more forcefully in support of Qatar's sovereignty. I mean, it's just another example of Trump's willingness to ignore historic alliances. I mean, even NATO, he has caused some serious problems around Ukraine and other issues. So I guess it's not that surprising that he'd be willing to abandon Qatar as well.
Ali, I wanted to ask you a similar question. Essentially, what do you think happens after this? Because Qatar was one of the key mediators along with Egypt and the United States. It has been attacked. We don't know whether it will be able to act as a mediator. That question's still unresolved. But if the mediation is weakened or paused, then all that is left is some kind of military solution. And we know that Israel is poised to fully invade Gaza City, push out hundreds of thousands of people there. What do you think is the next step?
Well, I think this is my point of view. Personally, I think Qatar, they will withdraw from this negotiation because we can't negotiate without any. There is no respect even for this negotiation. And this is a message for the Israeli people. For the Israeli people, not for the Israeli regime. I think if they will not work hard to push this guy out of the system, I think what we're going to face, even not only with Qatar, they will having so many. They will be under. They will lose even them relationship with other countries. I think we can't move on with this regime since when we are dealing and negotiating with Hamas last time. When he says things, the next day he changed it. When he put things on when he said, okay, today, tomorrow he changed things. There is no words for him. I think for my message, and the message now to the Israeli people, he will be facing, big things with the Arabs. I don't know what his aim. This guy is he looking for third world war? What he didn't see, I didn't see from him any respect, any look like he didn't have it. He want to kill everyone. That's what his aim. That's what we are seeing. Qatar was working hard with. They're trying to help. At least to improve the situation inside the Gaza, even with AIDS. Not only Qatar, all the countries in the world. He didn't even let the people to eat, to having, a little things to survive. I think we are in a miserable situation. I don't know what's going on, but I think hopefully the Arab country, they will not boom. The neighbor, they will be boom, and the Arab road could be boom. And if there will be boom, then nobody will stop them. Now we still having diplomacy, and we should respect the diplomacy. I think, hopefully.
Eche, I want to come back to something that you were saying. You were saying that Israel has had very little price to pay for its conduct really across the region so far. Yes, the wheels of international law are turning. Yes, of course, its reputational damage is immense, but once Israel has sort of absorbed that, the next step that I can think of would be either a wide group of countries imposing sanctions, whether arms sanctions, the only ones that would really matter are from the US, or economic sanctions. But we aren't there yet. There isn't a critical mass of countries that is signaling that they're ready to do that. And then the ultimate thing that Israel could lose is American support. That's also not about to happen. There's no indication of it. So is Israel operating currently in a space where it's kind of got nothing to lose?
It's not that it has nothing to lose, per se. I think that you laid it out quite clearly in terms of what would need to happen in order for there to be a change in Israeli behavior. But it's not that it has nothing to lose, as much as it's the Israelis have decided that in the short to medium term, they can absorb any sorts of losses to their reputational value worldwide, because actually what they really care about is their reputation in the United States and in Western Europe. Those are the most important. When it comes to arms, I think it's around 70% of their arms provision comes from the United States, and around 30% comes from Germany, and the rest, a very small percentage coming from other countries. So as long as they've got that, then I think they feel that they're able to continue. But there's something that's wider here, even from an Israeli perspective. And I don't presume to speak on behalf of the Israeli government, but if I were sitting in Tel Aviv, I would be wondering, okay, after I win all of these battles, okay, integrated into the region, or do I want to continue to be seen as a destabilizing force in the region that's only able to continue these types of destabilizing actions because of the weakness of the region itself and the strength of my external partner, the United States? Because if it's the latter, then history doesn't stay the same, right? At some point, there could be a change in terms of American support. I agree with you. I don't see that happening anytime soon. But when you look at the opinion polls in the United States, the trend of travel, I think, is pretty clear. And if I were in the Israeli government, I would be thinking, okay, long term, is this really to my benefit or not, and to the benefit of my people?
All right. That's the time we have for today. We have to run, but thank you very much to all our guests for joining us. Ali Ghanem, Al-Hajri, Stephen Zunes, and H.A. Hellyer. And thank you, too, for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. For further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on X, our handle, @AJ Inside Story. From me, Cyril Vanier, and the whole team here in Doha, bye for now.